Hi there, this is my first video about having narcolepsy, and I'm specifically wanted to talk about my experience with Xyrem. So a little background on me. I believe I've had narcolepsy my whole life, and I have narcolepsy without cataplexy. I believe I've had it my whole life. Just thinking back to my childhood, there were so many things that happened that I believe were narcolepsy related. I was undiagnosed for many, many, many years, and I am now almost on my 2-year mark of being diagnosed. Yesterday, I went to my first kind of support group. I highly recommend, no matter where you are at on your diagnosis, or if you've known for many years, or if you've just found out, actually, especially if you just found out. I think meeting with a group of people with a lot of different experiences was very enlightening. There were behavior that I did and things in my life that I didn't even associate with narcolepsy until I started talking to these people, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's why I do that, I bet. It was a very positive experience. I highly recommend that you find a local group. Go on to Meetup. There's an app, Meetup. There's a narcolepsy network you could go to. But just Google support groups in your city. I think it's a great way to connect. It's so easy to kind of isolate and just think, oh, I'll just deal with this on my own. I find it kind of isolating because I didn't know anybody who had narcolepsy. So I don't have anybody to call and be like, oh, does this ever happen to you? Or are you struggling with this? Or whatnot. The only people I really have access to would be my doctors, and they don't have narcolepsy. So even though they might be sleep doctors and great physicians, they can't necessarily answer some like day-to-day things about the psychology behind having narcolepsy, which is something I'll probably go into in future posts. As far as my diagnosis, I went through a series of misdiagnoses until we really narrowed in on narcolepsy. So I was diagnosed with ADD, depression, anxiety, thyroid issues, and it's a very long, convoluted story, but eventually my doctor got me to do a sleep study, and that was the defining moment of Heather is off the charts narcoleptic, and that's when I started getting help and started taking medicine for it. I had already, because I had been diagnosed previously with ADD, I had already tried stimulants. I did not like any of them. I didn't like the feeling of walking around feeling medicated. When I was diagnosed with narcolepsy, the options were stimulants or Xyrem. So I went directly on Xyrem. And Xyrem you take at night, and you take theoretically 2 doses. During the night you wake up and take your second dose. I think my primary reason for posting this video is to let people know who are thinking about taking this, to give it time. It took me months to really get the dose right. I happened to be really sensitive to it at the beginning, and I had kind of ramped up too fast and felt actually physically ill over it. And I was like, oh great, this isn't gonna work. I'm gonna have to take stimulants. This is my only chance. I backed off and started taking it again, just very little by little. And like I got in the title, is that I've been on it for 2 years now. I've changed, or my doctor has changed how I take it. I actually take 3 different doses during the evening. I take 2 higher doses and then a lighter dose. So the reason behind that was I didn't like when I woke up in the morning that I was shaking, like my hands would shake, and it was difficult for me to write. Right now, it's working for me. I will say this, when I first got diagnosed, I was scared. I was very scared. I thought, oh no, this is the end of my life. I'm going to get my driver's license taken away. I'm going to lose my job. I was frightened. I have an amazing doctor who said, Heather, actually, your life is not over. Your life is just beginning. And never truer words have been spoken. That was very true. So I was immediately excited to just get this sleep that I've been needing my whole life, because I've woken up exhausted every day of my life. Over the last 10 years, I've slowly had gained 25 pounds, despite my best efforts to keep it off. So I was very, very excited. Now I will tell you this is also, I thought, oh, I'm going to take this Xyrem and that's it. I'm going to wake up every morning refreshed. I'm going to fly out of bed. It's going to be amazing. That hasn't happened. I don't fly out of bed. Do I wake up tired anymore? No, I don't fly out of bed, but maybe nobody flies out of bed, but I have this vision of having all this amazing energy. I very rarely take naps during the day. If I do take naps, it's usually because I'm under a lot of stress. I've messed with my dose or something. There's usually a reason. I can kind of explain a nap. I wanted to talk about why I don't take stimulants, and that's really just my choice, because I didn't react well to stimulants. No matter how low the dose, I would feel medicated. And I'm a naturally anxious person anyway, so if you give me a stimulant, it's probably not going to go so well. I think the biggest message is, especially if you are new to a narcolepsy diagnosis, to hang in there. You do have options. Now, of course, there are so many stimulants that you can take, and I believe right now, and I keep asking my doctor every time I go in there, are there any alternatives for Xyrem? And right now there really aren't. I am all about treating the condition. I did not want to treat the symptoms, and that was another reason I chose to not go down the stimulant route. I'm very happy that I did. I've been lucky enough that I've had access to it since my diagnosis, and that's about it. If anybody has any questions, please feel free, or even advice or suggestions. I was diagnosed, later in life or whatever, but I mean, in the support group that I met with, a lot of people were diagnosed in their teens, in high school. I wish I had been diagnosed in my teens. That would have been amazing. I miraculously graduated from college. I've held jobs, not thrived as much as I probably could have had I been diagnosed, but I've definitely survived. So, but definitely if you have suggestions or you want to share, or you want me to talk about something else, I'd be happy to. So just leave me a comment in the suggestion or in the comment box, and that's it. Thank you for listening to my story.